Conceive, believe, achieve.
This is former UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael Bisping.
Paddy the Baddy here. You're listening to Combat Sports UK.
And you're watching Combat Sports UK.
Welcome to episode 4 of the OKTAGON MMA Podcast, brought to you in conjunction with Combat Sports UK. I'm your host, Lewis, and I'm joined by the man you know as the voice of OKTAGON MMA, Mr. Bryan Lacey. Happy New Year to you, sir. How are you doing?
Happy New Year, mate. Episode number 4. What would that make it? Do you know, an anniversaries, what's 4 years? You got like paper, what are we, soil? Is this going to be our soil anniversary?
Rock, paper, scissors.
Something like that. Something like that. But yeah, here we are, mate. Here we are. And we're excited because it's a UK card coming. The second one.
The second
mate.
one. Woo! Heading over to Geordieville on what is a very exciting card. There may not be a belt on this one, but my goodness, there's narratives, there's storylines, there's bad blood from top to bottom on this card. So yeah, there's plenty to dive into and plenty to get everyone excited about for the upcoming card here in Newcastle. But before we do that, it's been a while since we've spoken, and we would be remiss to not look back and reflect on not 2023 in a whole, because my goodness, we'd be recording for hours, but certainly the cherry on top of 2023 for OKTAGON, which was the final event, OKTAGON 51, held in the O2 Arena in Prague. My goodness, that was a night of violence, chaos, and unbelievable fights. What was it like in the arena calling the fights? What was that atmosphere like?
It's again one of those things that you feel blessed to be in there. You definitely have to take moments to take it in for sure. And with the last 3 fights in particular, it just rose and rose and rose from the shock that was Piret Kristofic knocking out Carlos Vermola like that in the way he did. I mean, within a week, I think it had 4 million views on Instagram as far as just the social media one. But the waves it created across the Czech Republic, Slovakia, the effect it's also had on the build up to the Eden show, which is the stadium show, which will see him, Vermola, take on Kristofic's mentor and coach, Attila Vey. I mean, that one punch has you know, rocked completely the narrative there, as well as put Kristofic back into the spotlight with even the Piotr Wawrzyniak calling him out after his win, and then Vermola, it's left question marks over him, but it's given us a hell of a story to build up to what might be and should be his final fight.
Yeah, unbelievable. And that's one of those highlights, one of those punches that is going to be featured in OKTAGON sizzle reels for forever.
It was like slow motion, mate. When he connected, he kind of fell, and everybody, like, the sounds over dramatic, but you know, when if you say, people say it took the wind out of the room, it really felt like that happened, because everyone had that same moment, and because he was falling so slow and obviously completely out, everybody in unison, Vermola fan, Kristofic fan, just OKTAGON fan, as one, just had this big intake of breath of like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, it was a special moment. And you know, also what a gangster the Terminator is. Already another fight announced. Let's do it. Arena, doesn't matter. We'll dust that one off and we'll go and settle this bitter rivalry with Attila Vey.
It's insane. He's got a movie out, so he's been doing the premiere for that in Slovakia and the Czech Republic about his life and about this journey. I mean, he is unique. He is special. He is definitely a keystone as far as the fabric of MMA and the rise of it over there in Slovakia and the Czech Republic. He's walked to the beat of his own drum. But when you look at, you know, the years before and everything that he's achieved and all the stuff he's overcome, and then you look at 2023 with first the loss to Kinsel, and then second the loss, or finally the loss at the end of the year to Kristofic. You know, Father Time wins every single fight they ever step into, and it feels like that with Vermola. But it's Vermola, and he will always draw a crowd. He's that fighter you tune in because you want to see him win or you want to see him lose. And the fact that he will walk out in Eden in a stadium, I think it's just under 30,000 people, maybe 25, 27, something like that, will be another moment that we'll never forget.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And certainly as we get closer to that incredible event, we'll definitely have a podcast for you on that. But there was a few other fights on here of massive importance. We obviously had the interim middleweight championship, which that delivered as well. And when a fight gets put together like that, when someone has to pull out, and someone with the profile of Patrick Kinsel as well, you think, is the fight going to be able to deliver? Maybe as a ticket holder or someone tuning in, you go, I was really looking forward to seeing that one shape out, but it did not fail to deliver.
No, and I thought first of all, when they were looking for a replacement for Kinsale, I thought the matchmaker was doing that thing of let's pick an opponent with the hardest name for Bryan Lacey to be able to say on comms. Because when they sent me over, they went, do you know the Babylon champion, the middleweight champion? I was like, okay, I kind of can't remember him. And then they sent me, and I was like, Piotr Vavivich. So it took me a good, couple of hours of practicing to get it right. But I think we got there in the end, and it was worth it because, he's made his name already in one fight in Octagon. Vlasto Chepo, again, a fan favorite, looked a beast in that first round. But then Vavivich did what he had to do, survived the storm, then found his route to victory. Once he got it to the mat, it was a pure beatdown. You could see that with the face of Chepo at the end. So yeah, great first debut, and I think an interesting, person and skill set for Kinsel to be thinking about for the unification bout.
Yeah, do we have sort of any inkling on when that might happen? What Kinsel's status is?
Inkling, mate,
you have some inkling.
I would lose a job if I if I was to announce that. But what I will say is, within the first quarter of 2024, we should have that at a main event, at a pretty special event.
Ooh, okay, well look forward to that. And then of course the main event. You think with the absolute shock of the world with Vermola going down, then we have an interim middleweight strap fight that doesn't fail to deliver. We have the Tipsport Game Changer final as well, with serious bread on the line, probably the biggest payday of either of these gentlemen's career. And what a moment. Both guys excelled through the entire tournament, through the entire process, and Bojan Veličković getting it done in style over Andreas Michailidis, just sensational. He's become a superstar in Serbia.
Well, not just Serbia. This was one of my favorite things, and we'll talk about the fight shortly, but the tournament as a whole, to see what it did as far as across the year, giving us that through line of the journey from the start in Ostrava all the way to the end in Prague in the O2 Arena. What was great to see, and this was the time I got the first taste of it, was the weigh-ins. So obviously you've got big names there. You've got Kristofic, you've got Vermola, you've got Chepo, you've got Skvor, you've got all these Czech, Slovak names on the card. But when they stepped out for the main event for the weigh-ins and the stare down, Andreas Michailidis had brought a huge amount of support from Greece. And you could see it. There was a little army of Greek flags and cheering and chanting. And then when Bojan stepped up, the whole crowd went crazy for him. I mean, this is a guy who's had some monumental fights in Octagon already. The Jungwirth one, the first fight with Cosma, Kurtesh, Apollo, all these big fights. And he's really made a name for himself. So for me, to see the effect the tournament had on the MMA fans as a whole, it was great, because also, and this is a sort of a bad trait we've got in the UK, when the fight that everyone cares about happens, everyone leaves. You can see a third of the stadium emptying because people have got what they wanted. No one left their seats because they wanted to see the end of this. Bojan's walkout was like a hero's welcome. Everybody was picking, and out of, I'd say 20, 30 people that I spoke to on the way up, and they were saying, what do you think? And I'd fire the question back. I would say 99% felt Michailidis was going to get this done. And when you watch the first round, it looked like he was going to get it done in a round. But once Bojan survived and his grappling sort of kicked in, it was so good to see what he did. And then you jump back to his journey, thinking about quitting the sport, losing his father just before he fought Apollo in Germany, a month before that, walking out, and then coming back and testing himself against the best welterweights, in Europe. It was one hell of a journey, and that was a beautiful moment to see him win it in that style, and then to see the family around him, his wife, his girlfriend, his mum come into the cage as well. He made a moment of that. And then also the moment he had afterwards with Andre and Pavel, when he talked to him about being part of Octagon, about being part of this tournament, and how proud he was to represent not just himself but the promotion on a global stage. It gave us everything everything and more. That, in fact, it gave us more than we expected
Yep.
from this tournament, and that excites me for the fact that we've got the next one announced, mate. The next
I was just gonna
lightweight.
say lightweight. It's gonna be unbelievable, and there's been some seriously big names also, of who are already part of the Octagon roster, and then some other big names being added into the mix as well, who are all desperate to, as you said, not only compete on such a huge stage, represent their country, and also get a chance to win some serious cheddar.
Paid.
That's
Get
it.
paid. And I was talking to Akon. I had a little chat with him about a week ago, and he's had so many, and he's the only guy for Great Britain that's in there. And I know the behind the scenes chats that have gone on to try and get him fights. Everybody has said no, or there's pulled out, or Barnick was the only one that came back through and stuck with it. But this means that no one can say no. And I was asking him that, and he said that's exciting. But the thing I was also asking is, like, what's it like preparing for a fight when you don't know who you're going to fight? This row of killers, and they are a row of killers. From, Daniel Torres, Amir Makwan, I've forgotten to say his name. Makwan Amir Khani. There you go. You got all these, like, you got Paradisa in there, the actual lightweight champion. What a guy he has! What a year he had last year. And Akon was just telling me, it's one of those things where you put your head on the pillow, and every night you're thinking of a different opponent or how it could match up, or that type of thing. So, I'm ready for this again. I think season 2 could even surpass season 1 as far as the fights and the talent.
Yeah, no doubt. Plenty to look forward to, and it's going to be unbelievable to follow it from start to finish, as it was in the first iteration. But now people know we've had this amazing pop, this amazing moment, the final, and I think all eyes are going to be on this tournament for 2024.
It's exciting, isn't it, mate?
It's
Come on.
very...
As a fan, when you think about it, and also just feeling what the last one did, the twists and turns, and I think we were kind of blessed with the last one because there was no major pullouts. Like, we didn't get to the final, and one of the finalists had to come out with injury, or even into the key ones like the semis and the quarters.
Yep.
Somehow, some way, everybody made it through. The biggest drama we had was Gogoladze missing weight on the first thing, but that gave us Grabinski, and Grabinski is now in the lightweight one as well as being in the West. It's insane. And as far as stories, when you're following stories, whether you're a fan, a journalist, or a commentator or promoter, it's like looking at an empty book and not knowing where it's going to go or what the ending's going to be. That's
it. That's the beauty of it. Certainly, I can't wait to see the initial tranche of matchups, and we'll get going. We'll get going from there. So let's turn our attention to Newcastle, because as I mentioned at the top, there is some serious scraps on this card and some serious narratives to dive right into as well. And we better start with the main event. And there is no love lost between Jonas Magard and Jack Cartwright. The ground was set. The torch was lit at Manchester back in November. And they've just been at each other's throats ever since. Just, let people know what they need to know about this one, because this is going to be fireworks.
Well, look, I think the actual torch was sort of lit a while ago, and I don't know where it started, but I think obviously because they both train at Manchester gyms, Wayfarer with Jack Cartwright and Manchester Top Team with Jonas Magard, they were always on the periphery. And I think, personality-wise, we've seen it in the face-to-face, that they're guys that don't back down. They're guys that truly believe that they are the best. And what's interesting in the build-up is Jonas usually dominates the press conferences. I mean, look at the Lopez one. Lopez, a ex-UFC fighter, veteran, champion in other promotions, just looked lost. Same with Filip Maček. Even though he's in his home country, it was like he was taking 10-8 rounds every single time, because Jonas is relentless. It's relentless. Felipe Lima, I tried to host a face-to-face with them, and it was the hardest interview I have ever done, because there was Jonas, it was like he'd had 20 Red Bulls, and he was just, there was nonstop. So, but Cartwright has, in my eyes, held his own and then some. I think he's won quite a few of these exchanges, and that's the difference. Like, Cartwright is not, and Jonas, they don't want to lose. They wouldn't want to lose, they won't want to lose any part of this, whether it's the face-to-faces, whether it's the fight, whether it's a round, whether it's one exchange in the rounds. And that is what's going to make this a great fight. Not just because there's needle, not just because there's bad blood, but on top of that, they're two world-class martial artists in their prime, and they're both, they will both give everything to win this, or vice versa, not to lose this fight, because the stakes are high. Potential fight with Felipe Lima, but made even higher because that win will last forever. They will be able to say they bested that man, the man that talked all that shit, the man that, came and stepped in the cage, stepped to each other, and one of them will walk out 6 foot taller. I tell you that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then, the winner is going to get a crack at the title. And these three guys, I mean, I don't think this is going to be a one-off either. I think these fellas are going to be seeing each other a few times over the the next 12, 18 months, whatever it looks like, because the talent and the ability of the top of this bantamweight division is absolutely absurd.
Yeah, you said it there, talent and ability. And also you're looking at young fighters, in their prime, really in their prime. Add to that the fact Mate Sanakidze has come down to that weight class now as well. You got Roman Paulus moving down to bantamweight as well. He'll be on this card against Nathan Haywood, making his debut at bantamweight. It's all talent. This isn't just about the talk, and that's what's great. We're not just watching this, it's not a celebrity boxing match. It's not, one of these cards where it's just about what happens before the fight, the press conferences and everything like that. We've got that, but what we also know that at the end of it, and however you do that MMA maths, whichever way it goes towards Felipe Lima or back round to the contenders, you are going to have absolutely, top level fighters in their prime, amazing skill sets, all different, all dynamic in their own way. And that for me makes it's still a fairly new division. If you look back when we were crowning Jonas Magard against Philip Matchett, there was no contenders. There was no one to talk about who's next. We were searching for that. And within 12, 18 months, we now have a roster which has got, like you said, when you start thinking about the matchups, it makes it intriguing and exciting in every single way.
No doubt about it. Moving on to the co-main event, and we have another UK interest with Matthew Bonner taking on Mache Peñas, and this is going to be good stuff as well, man. This is Peñas has only got the one blemish on his record, and he's coming off a sensational return at Octagon 50, where he took out Ole Magnar in what seemed like about 3 seconds. Reality, it was 29. But when he decided to put his foot down and go, actually, it was like a lion coming in and just going, I'll play around with me prey a little bit, and whabam, that was it. He just decided, drop the hammer, and it was all over for poor Mr. Magnar. So, we know how serious he is, and his only blemish on his career is coming out of the Contender Series, where he lost to Cedric Dumas, and he's proving the caliber of fighter he is as well. So there's certainly no shame in dropping that. So yeah, what a wonderful fight that we've got on tap here.
It's great. It's great because we saw Peñas come back in and do what he does. If you look at his records, as far as finishes, particularly in Octagon, then a number of first round ones, some big ones like over Carlos Gracia, who was an IBF European Thai boxing champion. You look at some of the other fights he's had, Chet Koné, that he gritted through that and came up with the finish against an elite proven veteran. And then Magnar, I was in the car getting a lift to the airport with Magnar, and he looked like he'd been, in a fight with somebody for an hour, with the amount of damage on his face. And when you look at that on 29 seconds, and ridiculous. God bless Ole Magnar, he was all smiles. He was like, he said, I closed the distance. He said, I forgot to do a takedown. And then I said, one of his coaches was also kind of saying, yeah, you were also just using your face to block the punches as well, which is not what we trained. But Peñas is a phenom. He is proving himself in glory in kickboxing, in K1, Thai boxing. He's training over there at All Stars as well, so against some amazing elite fighters as well as Reinders MMA. But Matthew Bonner is, for me, always this person that people kind of overlook. They kind of, he's always the underdog in a lot of the fights. And then you look at his record, and as far as resumes and CVs, especially in Europe, especially in the UK, there's not many better at middleweight. You look, he's got wins over Mick Stanton. He's got wins over James Webb. He finished Matt Inman as well. I think finish or decision, but he beat Matt Inman. So you look at those things that he's done. And I think people underestimate him because they don't see one area that he's great.
Yeah.
But I think it's because he's great everywhere.
Everywhere.
He's scrappy when he needs to be. He can wrestle when he needs to. His jiu-jitsu's good. His boxing is better than people think. You look at that Akippa fight, he's against the Glory kickboxer again, facing them. And his head movement was great. His selection of punches was great. And the flip side of this is because everyone looks at Peñas and they go, the KOs, the striking background. Matthew Bonner's twin brother is number 2 in the world at Thai boxing. He is now, recognized, and I think his next fight will be on Road to 1.
Yep.
So you look at him, and that is his twin brother. So he has shared every breath of his life with this brother. He has fought over the remote control. He has fought over who has the last bit of the cereal in the box. He has fought over girls with this guy, and now they have come up and trained in martial arts. And as far as somebody who is the perfect sparring partner to, either emulate Peñas or pick out certain things that he does, when you've got one of the best strikers in the world that is, the picture of you across from you, I think it's a secret weapon. I do, and I think people underestimate him again. And Peñas, as dangerous as he is, will need to be totally on his game against Bonner. So for me, a middleweight contest that has, I think much more people should be paying notice of, because two of the best. One with more experience in MMA, and Peñas back on the rise with all the hype behind him. But 15 minutes will decide it, if that.
Yep, couldn't agree more. I think Bonner is overlooked, as you said, because he just seems to do everything well, and it's very easy to just take a quick glance at his record and go, 16-9, but that doesn't tell the full picture of who he's fought, the caliber of opponents, and really. A lot of the losses that he dropped were earlier on in his career. He's still developing, still finding his way.
And he's training on his own back then. That was the thing. He was with his brother, but not in an MMA gym. So now he's gone to Next Gen. You look at his record since joining Next Gen, and it's, again, iron sharpens iron. So it's superb. And whoever fights Matthew Bonner, when you leave that cage, you have been in the fight. And that is the thing that he brings. So, yeah, it's a great one.
Certainly is. Righty, what else have we got on this card? Well, Aaron Aby, your man, Aaron Aby. We talked on the last podcast about what an incredible story that he has. So, we don't need to go into that this time per se, but the fight that he had with Elias Garcia was superb. It was for the inaugural belt, and it was a back and forth scrap. Both men were in it, both from a game, and unfortunately, it resulted in a doctor stoppage because of a cut. We all hoped we would see an immediate rematch. Unfortunately, that's not come to pass. But this is another opponent who's no joke for Aaron, and he's putting his essentially his number one contendership on the line against a game veteran of the sport who is a submission jiu-jitsu ace, and will be looking to come over here and earn his right to take on Elias Garcia and get his crack at some serious hardware. This is going to be an excellent fight.
Yeah, and again, to highlight who Aaron Aby is, they offered it to him. You could sit out and you could still get that fight. You can sit out and you can still be the contender. When Garcia's ready to come back, you can fight him. You'll be the guy. And it was Aby that said, no, if there's a fight in Newcastle. And again, he's fought so many times over the last 12, 18 months. But he was like, no, I want to fight. And also, when you look at the opponents, I think Daniel is a really hard opponent, like potentially, tougher than Garcia in some respects. And I'll say that with respect, because Daniel is a very savvy jiu-jitsu player, brown belt. He's fought in combat jiu-jitsu a number of times. You look at his game as well. He's dangerous on top, particularly on bottom, going for leg locks, the type of stuff like that. He's got lots of tricks up his sleeve. And secondly, he's massive as a flyweight. He is physically a much bigger specimen than Garcia. And I think Aby, again, because of the cystic fibrosis, doesn't cut a lot of weight. He can't. He physically can't, because he would be in trouble if he did. So he won't be much bigger than he'll be flyweight and a wet t-shirt basically on fight night. Whereas Christopher Daniel is a specimen, and unorthodox throwback fighter with the American wrestling pedigree plus the jiu-jitsu. So it's a great fight, but it says everything you need to know about Aby. He's like, I'm fighting.
He's a fighter. Well, that's we know his entire story, right? He is a fighter. He will fight. That's all. That's what Aaron Aby knows to do. So yeah, very much looking forward to this one, and just for his sake, I hope he comes through, and look forward to seeing that rematch between him and Garcia, because that will be another great scrap. There are so many more fights that we could dive into, but I'm going to ask you to just pick one, because we can't go into everyone, but give our audience one fight that we haven't discussed yet that they should be looking out for, and why?
Okay, there's, like you said, there's plenty on there, from the heavyweights all the way through to some of the Octagon Challenge guys. But Corey Fry versus Max Holzer. So again, England versus Germany. Fry coming off the back of that win against Dennis Ilbai, submission win. He's the knockout artist. That's a beautiful armbar finish. But Holzer is 6-0. I think 5 of his finishes are submissions. He's great. He is really, really. And again, when you look, Fry and Aby come out of the same gym. They're not looking for easy fights. They want pressure. They want to be tested. And this, for me, I mean, the Ilbai fight was certainly a coming out party for Corey Fry, but this one will solidify him in this featherweight division. This would catapult him right up there in the rankings to top 5 fights. So let's see. Holzer looking to make his statement. He wants to go back to Germany with the win. But both finishers, both exciting fighters. So yeah, that is my pick for the one that people should watch.
Yeah, that's a banger. My pick here is Shoaib Yousaf taking on Edward Kexel. And the crowd, you talked before about bringing a crowd and then unfortunately them leaving in the UK. That's something that the UK fans have got to sort. But Shoaib brings a crowd, and he will have
the assassin army, mate.
He will have a monstrous crowd there in Newcastle. The atmosphere is going to be insane. But he's taking on a serious opponent in Kexel, who is 9-1 in his professional career, but is also a decorated amateur as well. An absolute wealth of experience, and a win for either of these gentlemen puts them right into the title picture. So the stakes could not be higher. This is going to be an absolute banger. I
love it. Great pick, mate. And I think Yousaf he's got more weapons. I think he's got more ways to win this, from the Muay Thai that he trains out in Bang Thai in Thailand with, as his jiu-jitsu. But Kexel he's a stifler. Like, his wrestling game is elite. He can really, take you off your game and control the momentum of a fight. So it's going to be an interesting one. But like you said, that featherweight division could have a couple of new stars post Newcastle.
Certainly could. We'll wrap things up there, Bryan. This has been great, as always, for everyone tuning in.
Always great, mate. This is always great.
Always
I love
great.
It's better than coffee. It's better than coffee.
January 27th, Newcastle. Make sure if you're around, get there in person. If not, in the UK, you can stream this on Channel 4 or on DAZN. It's going to be fantastic. Make sure you tune in.
Ticketmaster.com, mate.
Ticketmaster.com.
Let's go.
Let's go. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.